Welcome back, collectors. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Diecast Emporium. So, if you were with me, as most of you were, a couple months ago during quarantine, I started a new series on this channel where so many of you guys wanted to see everything in my 1/50th scale collection. Obviously, the current logistics don't allow me to basically make that happen, so to get around that, I started doing a different series of videos which collection updates of each individual piece of equipment. So out there's an excavator, there's a few excavator videos, wheel loader collection, scraper collection, etc., etc. And then I did rollers and pavers. And again, if you guys follow me for any length of time, you know that my all-time favorite piece of heavy equipment is the coal planer or the milling machine. And that video was noticeably absent. The reason for that was I was waiting, and I'm still waiting, for a model to come in from Germany. It is an Nzgw CMI PR450, and I'll elaborate on that once we get to the Nzgw cat model that is here. But because I am a naturally impatient person, I am done waiting. We're going to continue on and do the video, and whenever that one comes in, I will do a showcase video on that. Whenever the world starts turning again and logistics and shipping and all that stuff get back going internationally anyway. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start the video. It is important for me to note at this time that these models are not in any order whatsoever. Really, they are just in order of the way I got them out of the package. So, starting off, this is the Nzgw 35DC, which is a very, very tiny little miller. Typically, this would be used for parking lots, small on-the-shoulder road work, and even driveways. It is a very highly detailed model for as small as this thing is. As you can see, check out that control panel. Hopefully that's not too blurry, but that is amazingly replicated in 1/50 scale at this size. Wheels turn, the drum moves, you can put the conveyor up and down if you have it discharging into a loader bucket, for example. Just a phenomenal little piece of modeling engineering here. I love this model. These are actually pretty hard to find nowadays. I would say if you have the opportunity to purchase one, jump on it. You will not be disappointed. Next up, we're going to stick with Wirtgen, but go up a couple size classes. So this is once again, an Nzgw Wirtgen W100F. Really cool model in that the legs are height adjustable, which is why it's not sitting evenly for me. You can adjust the angle of the track frames by turning them. Just like a crane, on most of these you can have it at crab steering if you want. The engine cover opens, although it's not really that detailed. But here's the biggest selling point for this. And that is, if we open up this side over here, and I want to show you guys just how cool this is. There we go. So you can see the drum inside there, and included with this model are different milling drum sizes. And they simply slide in and slide out, just like that. Close the door, and you're ready to keep going. Again, your legs swing out, your canopy can go up and down, all kinds of fun stuff on this. And the discharge conveyor as well is very highly detailed. So that is the W100F. If you want the largest coal planer that is modeled by Nzgw for the Wirtgen group, look no further than the W250i. Truth be told here, this version is actually kind of the later generation version. It's not the most newest or the current version. This has the old Wirtgen decals. The newer version obviously has the updated Wirtgen group logos. So this is about 10 years old now. It's still a very highly detailed model, very functional. Again, a lot of compartments and doors and such open. On this side, you can actually see one of the drive belts here, which is really neat. Again, everything's height adjustable. You can turn it. These tracks are metal, whereas a lot of the tracks on the other planers are rubber or plastic. So you have that. There's the underside of the discharge conveyor, how that looks. And each of the tungsten carbide teeth on this drum are painted red and highlighted in red. Very nice touch there. So that is the 250i. Moving right along. This is the caster scale models Beaumag 1000/35, similar in size to the Viertken W100F. Obviously, they are straight competitors. So caster scale models really has a different outlook than many of the other manufacturers. They don't make a ton of models, but the ones that they do, they pour their heart and soul into it. And this one is really no exception. Over here, again, your legs are adjustable. You can turn them. You can move the drum. This thing goes down if you want to have somebody on the back standing on that. Canopy raises and lowers. Your conveyor folds up and down. One of the only bad things I have to say about this is that the paint on the tracks is already coming off. And there really is absolutely no excuse for that, because this is very rarely displayed or taken out of its package. So it's not like it's been repeatedly used or anything. Again, I guess you could always touch that up and get matching red paint. But it's a nuisance nonetheless that shouldn't be there. These caster scale models you can actually get from Beaumag directly, or you could a few months ago. I assume nothing has changed. Here is the biggest one that they offer. This is the BM 2000/60. Again, this is my favorite of the two Beaumag ones. This one is very highly detailed. Again, metal track frames, hoses going to each of the track frames. There isn't much that opens on this. You have your canopy that raises and lowers if you want, but it's honestly, it's a pretty nice looking model. And there's the belt underneath it. Here's the opposite side, and you even have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the attachment for water that you would have a water truck hook up to. So they even modeled that. So there you go. All right, chances are, if you have one of these models, especially if you are a collector of a certain age like myself, and you've been around what seems like forever, this is likely the first one you had in your collection. This is the Norscot Roadtech Rx 700. This is the current version. The older ones, which are a little bit more rare now, had white track frames. Basically the same model other than that. This was, again, besides the Nzgw model, which we'll touch on next, this was one of the first cold planers in 150 scale offered, and they were highly sought after when they originally came out because they were somewhat hard to get a hold of. One of the biggest things that I like about this is I call this the Mercedes of the cold planers, basically because it has the gull wing doors for the engine covers that open, which is really nice. They even have the little warning triangle on the back of this. That's not added, that comes with the model. So yeah, it definitely shows its age in terms of the casting. But again, for collectors of a certain age, this definitely has at least a little bit of nostalgia factor going for it. And again, you can still get them direct from Roadtech. All right, back down memory lane we go. This is the Nzgw Cat PR450 pavement profiler, cold planer, bunch of different names for this, does the same thing. What's really cool about this is that, again, before Cat acquired their paving line, there was a couple other companies that came before that. Barber Green was one, CMI was one, and Nzgw actually made the CMI version of this, which is, again, the model that I'm waiting an eternity and a half to get here. I wanted to, in a perfect world, I wanted to have both of them to show you. Basically, again, they are the same, almost the exact same casting. But in terms of when Cat took over everything, the Barber Green pavers went from green to black and yellow. The CMI planers went from white to black and yellow. Again, there's a great article that cat.com did a number of years ago that you can look up. And if you're interested in the history of that kind of stuff, and certainly business acquisitions and why Caterpillar is the powerhouse that it is now, it's worth a read. So another interesting fact about this planer is that unlike the other ones, which obviously have the ability to, this was actually originally intended to be driven backwards in a way. So you'd have an operator kind of looking over his shoulder and going this way as the material is being discharged into a dump truck. Again, he would be going in reverse. Obviously, you could, if you wanted to, depending on the application, obviously go in the normal direction and have a dump truck out in front of it. But if you look at some old pictures or even some older videos, or maybe if you have some experience in real life, the PR450 would often be seen doing this with an operator looking over his shoulder. And again, another interesting fact is that this, unlike the other one, has 3 track frames instead of the more common 4 track frames. All right, moving right along. This is one of my favorites. This is the Norscot Pm 200. Little personal story here for those of you that enjoy my personal touch on these videos. So this was announced at the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, and I was ecstatic. It had been years since CAT released a 1/50th scale planer. Obviously, you had the Nzgw one, but we're talking almost 30 years at that point from when that one was released to when this was announced in 1/50 scale. I think I pre-ordered it, paid for it, and received it on the day, literally the first shipping day that it was available. The pre-production images, all of the stuff that Norscot did for the advertising of this made it just look absolutely awesome. And it isn't a bad model by any stretch of the imagination. There's even some small subtle changes, including the fact that you can open up the operator's controls and then close them for when the machine is transporting. You can fold the conveyor belt for transport as well. Looking underneath, there's your drum, and check out the material that the belt is made out of. Again, it's not a rubber material. This is almost like a fabric type material that adds just that next layer of immersion and realism factor to it. Again, the track frames do steer, and again, for the age of this, almost a decade old now, really this was groundbreaking for Norscot. I don't know why it took them years and years and years from the Nzgw one to this one, but there you have it. If I had to guess, and this is pure speculation on my point, so between the Nzgw CAT one and this one, what Norscot was focusing on and had a patent on was, you guessed it, the Roadtech one. So I don't know if they had a non-com or non-competition license agreement with 1/50th scale planners by Norscot. I'm guessing that had something to do with the delay. All right, moving right along. The last two that I will show you are Diecast Masters Highline series models that are currently available. This is not a discontinued model. You can get it right from your authorized Diecast Masters distributor. This is the PM 622. Its slightly bigger, fatter brother over there is the PM 822. So in real life, these machines, obviously, the 822 would have a bigger cutting drum. Everything on it would be a little bit bigger, simply put. In all actuality, in the model world, the PM 622 and the PM 822 are identical with the exception of the decals, which was actually really smart on Diecast Masters' part from a business standpoint, because those of us that are completionists and collect everything that CAT makes, you could buy basically 2 different models for the price of one tooling. So there you go. The conveyor on this also folds up. You have an opening engine compartment on these as well, which is very, very detailed. I actually love how that looks. And if we come around here to this side, and again, it is the same on the 822, I can't stress that enough, but you also have this compartment over here which swings open. When these were released a handful of years ago, I think 2017, 2018, if my memory is correct, this was kind of revolutionary for Diecast Masters Highline series. You didn't see a whole lot of opening or moving parts. These were really the guinea pig for that. Also, these were one of the last Highline series models that had the operator figure permanently affixed. In the most recent ones, as many of you guys know, they include an operator figure which you can opt to put in or out of the machine. These are permanently affixed, and it is one of the only Diecast Masters models you can get with the figure in the standing position, where normally he's lazy and sitting down in every other piece of equipment. Underneath, there's your drum as well, which does move. Again, you can steer the frames whichever way you want. Honestly, they did a great job with these. And they even have the control panels over here with some warning labels. So very well done. If you want to see the 822, just to close out the video, Again, exactly the same thing. Very little difference. And also, the conveyor and stuff does fold up, if I didn't mention that. The drum can be raised or lowered. You can actually put the drum down by putting the cylinders down like that. So really, quite a lot of functionality was modeled into these, and I hope that this is not the end of the cold planer toolings from Diecast Masters. I would love to see future installments made, maybe perhaps making one that's similar in size to the 100 by Beaumag, and maybe even something like this. That would all be wonderful to see, but we will just have to see down the line how that works out. So there you go, collectors. That is my to-date 1/50th scale cold planer or milling machine collection. If you guys have not checked out the other videos in this series, I'll link one of them to the top of the screen. Maybe I'll link the paver collection, since these kind of go with that. There's also a roller collection, excavators, loaders, bulldozers, whatever thing you can possibly think of, there's a video done on it. I think I still need to do a grader one. But in all other aspects, everything is pretty much done. Let me know down in the comment section below which of these models you have, or are they on your to get or wish list. Which one of these would you like to add? And again, if you have a personal connection story to any of these, I would love to hear that down in the comment section as well. As always, I'm Tommy with Diecast Emporium. Thank you all so much for watching. Be safe, stay well, and I'll see you in the next review.